Welcome everybody back to my channel where we talk about real estate investing, personal finance, personal growth, and entrepreneurship. And if those topics interest you, make sure you subscribe and like this video so you don't miss out on any of the fire content that I'm putting out, and you'll be able to follow along with this journey. So let's get into the topic. I'm going to be talking about the most common questions that people have about the Section 8 program. There's a lot of misconceptions about the Section 8 programs. There's a lot of biases and assumptions that people make about Section 8 tenants. But in order to make an informed decision whether or not Section 8 tenants is something you want to accept or not, it's important that you're armed with the knowledge about this program. So if you're watching this video, you're taking the necessary steps. So the most common question I get about the Section 8 program are all tenants rude and belligerent that have Section 8 vouchers. As I mentioned before, this is a common misconception that people have about the Section 8 programs. People assume that Section 8 tenants are rude and belligerent, disrespectful, and rude to their landlord. A lot of them single mothers with multiple kids running around tearing up the property, not paying their rent on time, throwing parties every night, inviting all their friends and causing chaos within the property. This is not the case for a majority of Section 8 tenants. As someone who has screened hundreds of Section 8 tenants, I am a landlord who rents out to Section 8 tenants. I can tell you firsthand this is not the case for many Section 8 tenants. Many tenants do not behave in this way because these tenants have government issued housing vouchers, and those vouchers can be taken away because there's a high demand for individuals to get these vouchers. If you're having complaints from multiple landlords and they're constantly getting in contact with your counselor, telling them the damage and issues you've been causing to your landlord's properties and to your landlord, you're more likely to get that voucher taken away from Section 8. So a lot of tenants do not want to have this reputation because they do not want to lose their housing voucher, because they most likely won't be able to afford rent if they did not have their housing voucher. I personally rent to high quality Section 8 tenants. These tenants stay a very long time. These tenants take care of the property like it's their own. They pay their rent on time every month. They're very respectful to you as a landlord, and they want to do whatever they can to stay in the property they're living in. And in order to create this environment as a landlord, you must make sure you're putting forth a property that's highly desired, making sure you have a property in a highly desired neighborhood that has highly desired amenities. These are what these high quality Section 8 voucher holders are looking for, and they do not want to do anything to mess up this situation. Next most common question is, are Section 8 tenants going to bring cockroaches, bed bugs, and rats with them if I decide to select them? This is a common misconception I get from individuals online or people in person who do not know much about the Section 8 tenant. They think the absolute worst of Section 8 voucher holders. In my experience, I have not had a tenant bring rats, bed bugs, and cockroaches with them to my property. But I am also a landlord who does home visits. I go to see how that prospective tenant is living in their current property, because in 3 months, my property is going to look exactly how they're taking care of that property. So I do not accept tenants who do not take great care of their property. What is most indicative of you having rats, bed bugs, and cockroaches is the condition of the property when you buy it. So when you're buying the home, make sure you have a good inspector who's inspecting the properties for these prospective pests to see if they're located in your property, because people are less likely to bring these things with them, especially if you're doing home visits to see the condition of their home. Another common question I get about Section 8 is, what do you look for when looking for properties that you plan on renting out to Section 8? So I personally want to maximize the amount of rent I'm going to get within the Section 8 program. As I mentioned before, Section 8 is going to pay for the majority of the rent, and I want the maximum amount of rent that I can get in the neighborhood that I'm renting out to. So Section 8 is going to base their rental calculation of what they're willing to pay for that unit based on the area of the property as well as the number of bedrooms associated with that property. So it's important that you maximize the number of bedrooms and buy in areas where Section 8 is going to pay top dollar. If you watch any of my previous videos, you'll know how to find these things. So when you're doing the rehab process or buying the property, make sure that you are buying properties with a large number of bedrooms or the potential to create a large number of bedrooms. It's very important that you understand what a legal bedroom is in your jurisdiction because it varies from location to location. So make sure you understand this because you don't want to put all this money into a room that's not even considered a legal bedroom. I live in Chicago, so there's already designated areas that I know that Section 8 is willing to pay top dollar for. These are called mobility areas, and I make sure I purchase in these areas. Does renting out to Section 8 mean I get guaranteed rent? Oh yes it does. Section 8 is the most surefire way to guarantee that you get your rent every month. At the same time, they are no lapse in payments when you deal with the Section 8 program. Section 8 is a government program. The government will always find a way to pay you. It doesn't matter if there's a government shutdown, there's an inflationary environment, or if there's a recession. The government does not miss payments and they will always find a way to pay you. Section 8 is a surefire way to make sure that you're paid every month without lapses. As I mentioned before, when you're renting out the Section 8 tenant, the government subsidizes anywhere from 70% to 100% of the rent. So the government is paying for the majority of rent of your Section 8 tenant. The last question I'm going to get into is how much will Section 8 pay in my area? So this all varies. So Section 8 is willing to pay fair market rent. So I'm located in Chicago, Illinois. So I'm going to speak about how much Section 8 is willing to pay in Chicago, Illinois because the Section 8 payment standards varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So I'm not going to touch on what maybe New York will pay or California will pay. Strictly Chicago because that is a jurisdiction that I'm in. So within Chicago, Section 8 is willing to pay fair market rent. So as I mentioned before, Section 8 is willing to pay a higher amount if you're in a desirable area known as a mobility area, and they have the zip codes that they consider mobility areas on their website, and they're also willing to pay more if there's more bedrooms within the property. So another way to find out what properties are going for in your area is maybe talking to a property management company who works with the Section 8 program, and they'll be able to tell you how much they got for their property, what amenities they have in their property, how many bedrooms they have in their property. This way you'll be able to get a good gauge on what Section 8 is paying in that area. Section 8 is willing to pay above market rent if your property is in a mobility area. And Section 8 will typically pay anywhere from 10 to 30% above market rent if your property is in one of these mobility areas. So that's a wrap for this video on the most common question I get from landlords about the Section 8 program. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button. This will help spread this video to other people who may benefit from it. And also make sure you subscribe to my page to make sure you're not missing any of my content and you're staying up to date on my latest videos. I'll be back again with another fire video before you know it. The Dr. Investor is out of here.